Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. A million things happening in the world, but perhaps the most important right now is that we're here and we get to say good morning to each other. Penny and Arlene, it's good to see you. Thanks, Penny. It is broadcast 1164. Shush and Iris, it's good to see you. Hi, Lisa. Jacqueline and Chana, Anya and Sharon, Boker Tov. Hi, Michelle. Arlene, it's good to see you too. Amy and Joanne, hi. Hope everyone is safe and well. Joyce, good to see you. April and Robin, Arlene and Linda, Jack, Barry and Fabrice, Ashley, Susie, it's good to see you. All right, we're going to take a breath, get to the bracha, the blessing, and learn some Torah. Hi, Sunday. Hi, Natalia. במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, הפוך בה והפוך בה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. So, good morning, everyone. Hope that you and yours are safe and well. This is broadcast 1164. It is day 390 since the war began. It's Parshat Noach, and Judy's grandson Noach turns 11 today, so happy birthday to Noach during the week of Parshat Noach. And Noah is an interesting figure for us to think about. We tell stories, and I remember both being very young, but then also being the rabbi of a shul with a preschool, and thinking about how the family looked and how the animals looked. And I remember this sweet rug in the preschool room in the shul where I served as rabbi, and the rug had smiling people waving on the deck of a ship, and a happy giraffe, and a really grumpy-looking elephant, and birds everywhere, and colors, and sky, and we know when we read the text that that's not actually what it looked like. It didn't feel like that. The ship didn't look like a boat. It was a box with one window. And even if the family was grateful to their core for survival, I imagine it was a complicated experience for all of them. Noach representing them all, not being the only human being involved. And so when we wonder about who Noach was, what we know about him, there are countless imaginative approaches to who he was. Two classic ones I want to share with you. The Hebrew verse that opens this week's Torah portion is Ela Toldot Noach. These are the generations of Noach. Noach ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav. Noach was, and the phrase here in Hebrew is interesting, ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav. Ish, a person, tzadik, righteous, tamim, simple, haya bedorotav, of his generation. Et ha-Elohim hitalech Noach. Noach walked with God. And if we leave things on the pshat level, on the surface read of the verse, that's what we know. He was a righteous, simple person who walked with God. But remember what we know about his context, and often when we look at someone, it's important to know the context that they live in, where they come from. There is a very famous picture of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, for those who know. He was a Christian leader. He was a theological rebel against the Nazis. And there's a famous image of a huge crowd in Germany of people saluting Hitler, but Bonhoeffer stands with his arms down. And that's a good context for us to see what the Torah has to say about Noach, because we can read this in many ways, but two classic ones. And Rashi quotes them. So I'm just going to read you an English translation of Rashi, one of the greatest Torah commentators to ever live. He says, of the word bidorotav, in his generations, meaning was he righteous, period, in an absolute way, or in comparison? So listen to this. Some of our rabbis explained the word in his generations, bidorotav, to his credit. He was righteous even in his generation. What do we know about his generation? They were evil, they were cruel, so much so that God decided to destroy the universe and start again. So in comparison to terrible cruelty, he was able to be righteous even then. So look how Rashi continues. It follows that had he lived in a generation of righteous people, he would have been even more righteous, owing to the force of good example. So in comparison to cruelty, he was good. Imagine if he was surrounded by good, he'd be great. Others, still in Rashi, however, explain it to his discredit. In comparison with his own generation, he was accounted righteous. But had he lived in the generation of Abraham, he would have been accounted as of no importance. It's a quote from the Talmud that Rashi brings forward. It's from Masechet Sanhedrin. Was Noach so amazing despite his generation, and he would have been encouraged to be even greater had he lived in a generation of good people? Or was he only great in comparison to awful? They're all so bad, and he, So there are a few things I want to say about this. Number one is to share that the context matters when we're trying to evaluate goodness. How amazing it is to see resistance against peers who go wrong. It is so powerful when we see examples of people who really are upstanders, who stand up, sometimes with opposition from their own community, to do the right thing. That takes enormous courage. And it is also true that when we create cultures of courage and kindness, doesn't that bring out the best in us? It's clear to me that when the rabbis in the Talmud, where this comment originally began, and from then until 400 years later, the time of Rashi, and from Rashi until 1,000 years later, which is us, here we are trying to figure out how to be good in a context that doesn't always encourage it. You know, ultimately, one of the questions I'm always left with when I read analyses of Noach, or really almost anyone, is, so that's how they were. How are we? Are we just less bad? Does that feel sufficient when it comes to ethical conduct? I don't think so. Do we hold ourselves up to a standard knowing that context can make it more challenging to stand up? Well, that maybe is more fair. But we spend so much time thinking about the characters of the past. You know, the biographies of generals and presidents and statespeople and other heroic figures from time. They're fascinating reads, but I hope that we read them to inform our own character. Nobody's perfect. We know that. One of the big gifts of the Torah is that it doesn't present us models of perfection to live up to. We have very human humans as our heroes. Noach, even if he was righteous in any generation, when the flood story is over, things do not go well. Avraham championed Sodom and Amorah, but not his own son. Moshe leads the people but forgets so much of his own family. Beth is pointing out also those who hid Jews during the Shoah. There is a beautiful study that was led by Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Jerusalem, of communities in Belgium and in France, not the entire countries, but some communities that were filled with righteous Gentiles, as we say, people who saved Jews at great risk to themselves. I think the question here, friends, for us is, who do we want to be seen as? Who do we see ourselves as being? How good can we be? Not how good is good enough. How good can we be? And friends, this is a really good question for us. And these are important times for us. And so I want to ask you to think about it in a very practical way. In this moment of very complicated global times, in these complicated political times in the United States, can we hold ourselves up to models of goodness? Can we stand up in the ways that we can to, first of all, build communities that raise everybody up, because we can be communities of kindness and courage. We can be that. And in comparison sometimes with the harshness of rhetoric, the true cruelty that we see amplified in countless ways and then again on social media, can we do better than that? Can we be kind? And can we hold community accountable so that there is less pressure on the Noachs among us to figure out how they're going to be in a cruel generation? Can we change the story so that the generation can experience less cruelty, more courage, and more kindness? That's on us. Sadiq Bedorotav. He was good in his time. Let's be good in ours. Friends, with all of this in our hearts, pray with me for the return of the hostages. With all of this in our hearts, pray with me for the peace of Jerusalem. With all of this in our hearts, friends, pray. Pray for goodness, for kindness, for courage. Kol hon b'leva pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia od lo avda tikvateinu hatikva bat shnot alpayim להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. Take care, friends. See you tomorrow.